Lucky eight.
Well, Bradford Ferguson of Rebellionaire, we had considered changing our timing today because of the Starship launch, and
Mhm.
I was pretty darn excited to watch that those chopsticks come down and catch Starship again. I mean, I'm sorry, the booster again.
Mhm.
Um, but that then we didn't. Yeah, I know. Big
We
lower lip.
lost Starship 8.
We
Um, but I listened to it in my Tesla, and I would highly recommend doing that. The sound is incredible. So I listened to Everyday Astronaut, his feed, and just turn it all the way up to 11. And the bass is amazing. Almost put a tear to my eye.
Art,
And
art
hearing
here.
it come back down, the sonic booms and
Yeah.
the engine starting up again, that was really cool as well. So, yeah, it's really fun to listen to those launches in the Tesla.
Yeah, I've told this story before on the channel, but there's probably new people that haven't heard me tell it. My dad was an audiophile. He was
Mhm.
electrical engineer, but he, even though we were super middle class, maybe low middle class, he would buy all the latest whatever. But he could buy it because he was an electronics expert. He could
Mhm.
buy it and then, cheap and then make his own thing. So he made his own subwoofers. I mean, we're talking about the 50s here, okay?
Mhm.
Building his own subwoofers and building his own, anyway. So in 1957 or 8, whenever I forget which one of the blasts, they came out with a 45 with the noise, all the noises you're talking about. Okay.
Mhm.
And so he bought the 45. We opened the windows, the doors, everything in the house, and because he's afraid he might break something, and he jammed that 45 on there, and it was the like your to your point, just to hear that rumble, to hear that those monster engines taking off.
And what was it a recording of the
I'm sorry,
45?
did I tell the story poorly? It was like one of the launches, the early launches
Oh
to
wow, that's cool.
57, 58, one of the very first ones. Yeah, yeah. I'm sorry. I really blew the story, huh?
That's all right. Yeah, it's yeah, knock your socks off. There's also one if you search for it, Sound Traveler Falcon Heavy. You
Hmm,
can search YouTube for that. Write it down now, but search for it later.
right.
And it's the guy recorded it with all these mics, so it's like a
Oh.
full surround, um, and it's just incredible.
Well, thank you for those
Yeah.
suggestions. That sounds like a great idea. Well, okay, changing directions. I do have a quiz for you today.
All right.
And I'm sorry, I couldn't think of an appropriate prize. I guess I could, I think I already sent you a bottle opener, didn't I? Anyway, how many companies in the S&P 500 have a P?
500.
Did I say 500?
You did.
How many companies in the S&P 500, right, have a PE over 75?
Okay. I gotta think it's fairly small. There are some companies that have are probably have some kind of dip in earnings. There are companies that do get kicked out every now and then because of that. Uh, I'm gonna guess 20.
Okay, you're not that far off, 12 to 18, depending on the day.
Hmm.
Palantir, crowdsource, you can think of some of the high flyers, a couple of pharmaceutical companies, but about 12 to 18.
Hmm.
How many of the Mag 6 have a PE above 50? Not counting Tesla.
Okay, so Apple would be lower. Amazon would be lower, I think, but their cash flow is racing higher. Microsoft is lower. Meta is lower, I'm guessing. Nvidia would be lower. That's near like a 25 PE, which is
40.
kind
It's
of
40. It's
crazy.
actually NVIDIA's 40 right now.
Okay. Well, forward PE is
That's forward. Yeah,
like
yeah.
25.
Okay, yeah.
Um, and I'm missing one. Micros Google.
Google.
Google's definitely lower. So I
There
would
you
say
go.
all of them are
All of them,
lower.
yes, all of them are under 50.
Yeah.
So how many um how many of uh the S&P or the Nasdaq have a PE of 100 or more?
I'm gonna say five.
How about one?
And that's Tesla.
That's Tesla. All right. Now, why did I put you through this? Because it occurred to me that I wanted that we need to destroy the notion in anybody's brain that Tesla is not being valued based on potential explosive growth in the future. All right. I know there's some people that are still trying to make it all about the fundamentals or about what it's, what it's, how much it can grow in its car business or its energy business.
Mhm.
There's no way it would be at this PE based on its car business or its energy business or its insurance business or any of the other businesses that are being talked about other than Robotaxi and Optimus. That is what drives the price on Tesla. And I just think, does that make sense to you?
Well, I can see how it makes sense, but I would argue back a little bit that earnings are a little low in the car business, compared to, where they were and where I think earnings are headed,
Right.
for the car business alone.
Yeah.
But I would say that Megapack earnings aren't unusually low,
Right.
but they are growing quite rapidly. You're about to go from 40 gigawatt hours per year to maybe 120
We'll talk
in a
about
couple of years.
We'll talk about that in a minute. Yeah. All right. So, but basically, when you take a look at it, Tesla's valuation, their PE, is so far above everybody else in their class, near their class, in the entire market, that there's only really one reason that they have this high PE, and that's because of, I mean, two reasons: Robotaxi and Optimus. So the second half of my thought was everybody's always worried about Elon's behavior, his politics, whether or not he's paying attention, whether he's spending enough time there. And I would say the answer to that question is this stock would not have 100 PE if there was being a big discount based on his activities and his problems and his politics and whether he's in the building or not. That would be the very things that people would discount, and so you might be looking where the PE maybe should be in the 30s or 40s. You might be discounting it down to 25 or something. You wouldn't be looking at 100 PE. So I think at least with regard to the investing public, I'd make the argument that none of this it may be impacting, but it's not impacting very much if you're sitting at this kind of PE.
Yeah, I'd say so. I I guess I go back to I think earnings are really low,
Yes, yes, we know that. Yeah.
in Tesla, just because you're turning over your biggest seller, which is the Model Y. It's their most profitable car, and essentially you had a couple slow years, leading up to this changeover in the Y, where the Cybertruck came on and like took all the oxygen out of the air, and now you have the new Model Y coming on. Um, so I think earnings, just in the car business are going to be much higher. This kind of makes me think about Nvidia when it first crossed Tesla market cap wise. Tesla fans were very critical of Nvidia. And they had just gotten Osborne, and this was in late 22. And they were Osborne, and so their earnings were low. So people stopped buying their product because they knew about the new product that was coming.
I mean, right.
So they, delayed their purchases. And Nvidia's PE got up to like above 125 back then. And a bunch of Tesla fans were very critical of that. So, um, yeah, I think it's important to look forward, and with a company that's going to that may grow as much as Tesla does in the next 3 to 5 years, it's important to know not just where you think it's going to be next year, but in years 3 to 5,
Right.
and base your value of the stock on that, and kind of like that future value, and then kind of bring it back to the present.
Yeah, but I think the reason I did all of this is as you look at X and you look at all these people in the press, and they're like, "Oh, Tesla's down 35 points today because of their sales in Germany," and I'm going,
Yeah.
no, it's just yes. I mean, it might be slightly, and it might be because of your darn headline, but it probably has really not very much to do with the unit sales or the unit margins right now. It may be impacted for a day or two after earnings or whatever, but overall, it comes down to Elon Musk and his vision. That's what we're paying for.
Yeah.
It's what we're paying for. Anyway, I thought that'd be a fun exercise. Europe is supposed to vote on the autonomous car rules in this next week. I don't know if it meant this week or next week, but according to the things we're getting, they're supposed to vote on the rules. And based on what I just said, and also based on the current market, I think even if Europe says, yeah, Tesla can do autonomy now, I don't think it'll move the stock at all.
Yeah, I don't think it would, even though it'd be extremely bullish. And I think a lot of Tesla followers have given up on Europe uh, for a long time because they're just very anti-competitive. They designed their highway rules as far as autonomy on the highway to be they basically designed it so that Tesla couldn't do what they wanted to on the highway, where it like has to complete a lane change in a certain time and a certain angle of attack and all the stuff, and basically greatly nerfed it in Europe. So I wouldn't be so I think it's my expectation is maybe in 3 years Europe would do it, but like only if some other car maker in Europe, some European car maker is ready for autonomy, then they might approve it. That's kind of where I am. But I agree it may not move the stock because you had this huge surprise announcement of Tesla in
I
China,
know.
and that didn't move the stock either.
Yeah, yeah. It's just right now the macro and the fear. What VIX is up to 25 again. I mean, it
Hmm.
just seems like it's all about the macro and the economic macro and the fear factor. So yes, talk to me about China. You guys are doing some very special work for the community right now with regard to some of these folks that are doing videos in China. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, this is on our Rebellionaire channel, both here and on X, where we are taking some of the videos we're seeing from FSD, Tesla FSD being tested in China, and we are using Chat GPT to translate those videos, and then we take that sound and throw it in the video where it goes. So we're putting those up on X and here on YouTube so people can hear what the comments are and see how it's doing.
So that would make you guys kind of experts on the YouTube videos that are coming out of China. What are your thoughts about what you're hearing from the YouTubers that are doing this?
Well, we haven't seen all of them, so just the ones we've done, it's generally been very good. There's one we just pushed out yesterday where it was in Beijing, and there were a lot of little things the reviewer didn't like, and I think some of them were around rules.
Hmm.
There was one tester that alleged that they got 7 tickets because they have these crazy cameras in China, and they'll send you the tickets if you do an illegal turn or whatever. But I think that's like very unusual. I didn't hear that about that happening to anyone else. Um, it seems to me it's behaving very safe and smooth in general. Um, I think they want it in general, the people who are using it want it to be a little more aggressive. Um, and this sounds weird, like especially around pedestrians and mopeds,
Just
where
run them over.
you,
Just keep going.
you don't you keep going at like a slower than walking pace
I
if
see.
it's like super crowded,
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
and people kind of are forced to get out of the way. That's kind of how it's supposed to work, but it's not how we do it here in the US. We don't have the crazy all the crazy activity on the street though.
All right, and then pulling all the way over to the United States, we had news. Apparently, it's old news, and it was just being picked up that in November, Tesla applied for a permit
Hmm.
to do robotaxis in California, but
Hmm.
they would be free rides, and they
Yep.
would require a somebody to be sitting in the I mean, being a supervised driver, would
Hmm.
still have to be in the vehicle. Now, I haven't heard, other than that, I haven't heard much about this, but I said to you in the green room, we're like assuming that Tesla has that all planned out. Like that's going to be for 2 months, and then they do this, and then they get the next
Yeah.
license, whatever. I mean, what do you think?
I didn't research the timeline, but they have to do this step in California before they can um before they can charge for the rides and before they can have it without the supervision.
Mhm.
And I'm not sure what the rules are in California around having to have remote operators ready, and how many per car or anything like that. I probably should ask ChatGPT about that,
There you
but
go.
but
You're
double
gonna ask
check it.
Chat GPT. Why would you ask those fools? You're supposed to ask Grok, man.
Could ask Rock, but the research tool on ChatGPT is still the best right now.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Hmm. I don't, I've completely stopped using Chat GPT and have almost stopped using Google.
The
Uh,
search tool on Grok is really good, especially for events that are present day.
I was asking
Um,
things from 5 minutes ago today and
so yeah,
getting results.
so I just asked it about what's the current state of all the tariff negotiations, and it
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
gave me a really good negotiate answer that was correct
Hmm.
and thoughtful, and kind of showed the differences between what's going on with Canada versus Mexico versus China.
Interesting. Very good. Yeah. As you know, in the morning I do the news, and so I'm looking for, like today it was the initial jobless claims.
Hmm.
Well, I want to get it ASAP, right? And so, like 4 minutes, 5 minutes passed when it came out. I asked Grok, gave it to me, summarized it, explained it, told me everything I want to know. It was really absolutely
Hmm.
amazing just within
Yep.
minutes of it being available. So that's special.
And
You, oh,
and we're going to talk about a job position we're hiring for. That's going to be later on in the video. It's about around AI and data.
okay. So if somebody has people in their families, are they themselves who are looking for something in AI and data? We'll
Mhm.
talk about that in a few minutes. You remind me now. Okay. You and I have talked for the last couple of weeks about the miss on unit sales that
Mhm.
we're expecting is going to happen in the end of the first quarter. Again, we've also agreed that long term it doesn't matter, but that it will have
Right.
impact short term. So, any updates on that? Have you guys zeroed in on a number? I know the number is now running, I would say between 350 and 380 between
Mhm.
most of the folks that are giving a number, except for I don't think AJ's come down from his 425, but maybe
No, he's not that high.
oh, what is he now? What's AJ now?
He's under 400, I
He's under
think.
400 also. Okay.
Yeah, I think, or maybe just above it. But um, yeah. So Goldman Sachs, they just had an update where they shared with clients they went from 399 to 375, and they also said that the consensus that they were still seeing was 425,000 or
Right.
426,000. And what was a little weird about the note is that they blamed it on, they said it was in part by the Model Y changeover
Hmm.
and in part by lower demand for Teslas.
Especially in Europe.
So, I would disagree. It's mostly from the Model Y changeover, and there could be some demand change, but I knew people would blame it on other things. Even Wall Street analysts who should know better. It's the Model Y changeover. Like that's what's causing it.
Yeah, we really won't know till the end of April what's really going on in terms of demand. I would not be shocked if we saw some demand compression in Europe.
Yeah,
Um, but there's also the possibility that it's not going to be nearly as important in Portugal or in Estonia as it is in, say, Germany. So it
yeah.
might be that we pick up sales in one country, lose sales in another.
And I think you gain sales generally in the US.
Yes,
I think you're gaining more people than you're losing, even though the people who aren't happy with Tesla are very loud about it.
right.
Um, yeah, and I think one other thing that could happen this year is there's a potential for Model 3 sales to decline or have some pressure because there's gonna be a lot of focus on the Model Y. And then also if you have the compact coming out in the second quarter, which I hope they call the Tesla Q. Um, if that comes out, that would further take attention away from the Model 3. And maybe even weirdly, like the Model Y might take some away from the Cybertruck even.
Yes, I think I've talked about this. I was the only one talking about it in the early days, that
Oh,
there was
it's very
any
astute.
kind of any kind of demand problem between the Y and the Cybertruck, and I was pilloried. I was I was nailed to the wall. No, it isn't the same buyer at all. And I'm like, what are you talking about? My own wife wanted to trade her Model Y in on a
Yeah.
Cybertruck. I mean, yeah, so I see a definite correlation between those two vehicles. And yes, I think Model Y will take away from, I don't think it'll take away from new sales of Cybertrucks. I think it'll take a, once Cybertrucks get down to 60 grand or 65 grand,
Mhm.
I do think it will take away from people that have been waiting for years who don't want to wait any longer.
Yeah.
That would be my theory. What do I know? But that's my theory. Earlier,
So I think the negativity around the sales decline isn't over yet.
yeah.
And that's been my fear for about a month now. And we're still seeing this past week the media completely leaving the Model Y changeover out of their stories.
Over and over.
Yeah.
It's been very,
Is going to pound people. People are going to get discouraged. Yeah.
yeah.
People,
Oh,
some folks are discouraged about it. And then they know better, but they're beginning to wonder, is it really, are the politics really hurting or not?
right, right.
Because their account value is about half of what it was at the end of the year.
Yeah. Yeah. I just keep trying to remind people that the stock is still up 20% from 6 months ago.
Yeah.
So it all depends on when you bought it. So it might be down. I think it's even with just before the election. It is down from the beginning of the year, but it's up from 6 months ago. So depends on when you got in. I did change my price target today. I
Okay.
had said I thought we would be back to all-time highs at the end of April. Because of the macro, I've moved that to the end of May. So I think it'll take us now until the end of May to get back to 480. That's my current position. Am I allowed to
It's like
change?
it's aggressive, but uh there's some charts if you look at them, like there's a potential it could do this where it had this big move down from 480 to wherever it stops and then there's this widening wedge where it could potentially bounce from where it is in the 200s all the way up to like 600 plus.
Right, exactly. Well,
Yeah.
by the end of the year, I expect us to be well over 600. I think you do too.
Mhm. But I think it's really wild if it
Yes,
actually
it
happens.
is. Yeah,
Like I don't even believe it can happen, but
you don't even
but
believe.
but there will be significant good news. I don't think the news this quarter is going to be that great.
No, no.
There is going to be an uptick in FSD revenue, so that I do believe Tesla's selling a lot of FSD packages. So,
Yes.
right before this change is only 1% penetration in China, and the it I don't know if immediately, but it should easily get to 5% in China. It's just a much better product than whatever else is on the market. It's very clear from the reviewers that
Right.
Tesla's leapfrogged all of them.
There should also be some bookkeeping catch up, both in China and in the United States, in terms of the percentage of profits we're allowed to book, because the product is more complete.
Hmm.
And in China, there would be that 1% where we weren't able to book any of it, I think. So we'd be able to book, say, 80% or something of those 1% that were already out there,
Yeah.
something like that. Don't know exactly how that'll all work out, but something on that order. Yeah, so that would all be good. Those are all surprises. The other surprise that I've been talking about is I think we will have a surprise on Megapacks in terms of, I believe we will deploy more than we ever have before.
Right.
We'll find that out, of course, on April 2nd. And I think it'll be at fine margins. But the big news on Megapacks wasn't how many we'll deploy when we see the numbers on April 2nd, but rather the new Megapack factory. Now, unfortunately, I know you're the guy, but
Hmm.
I've already done 3 shows where I talked about Megapack Factory. So there was one question, though, that we kept going, man, we need Bradford here to help us with this question. So, and you
You
even
have
brought,
to say it right though, Randy.
I have to say it right.
It's Megapactory.
I know. I usually do. I'm very careful to always use your word, but I did mess it up just now. Okay, so on the Mega Factory, number 3 in Texas, they're
Mhm.
talking about 1.6 million square feet. The one in Shanghai is about 1 million square feet.
Right.
The one in Lathrop,
Lathrop.
470,000 square feet. So one could go, oh, well, Shanghai is double the size, it should make double the numbers. And the one in Austin, in Texas, rather, is going to be 3 times the size of Austin, I mean, of Lathrop. Therefore, it should be able to make 3 times as many.
Hmm.
But then we're thinking about your early work, and I'm going, no, but some of those other buildings, besides the main 470,000 square foot building, some of those other buildings were for storage of finished product, some of
Hmm.
some other things. And then I think it was Cern Basher looked it up on the last earnings call, and it was showing 800, almost 800,000 square feet for Lathrop,
Hmm.
even though
Yeah,
there's,
I do think it's higher in Lathrop. And I'm talking about just that one building. So I do think it's more than 500,000 square feet.
oh, even for
Um,
that. Okay.
yeah, and they have a number of buildings there. So they have in Lathrop, so they have a huge parts distribution
Right.
warehouse. They have their center that um, controls the parts distribution. Um, they also have uh, a casting place where they do castings for the S and X.
Mhm.
They have a building that does the new Powerwall, the Powerwall 3. They have a parts supplier there that makes door panels for them.
Mhm.
And I think there's another one where they help out with superchargers, like something on the superchargers. Yeah, so I think I would really doubt that the Houston Megafactory is going to be 3 times the Megapack output of Lathrop.
Right.
If it was, I'd be really
Real.
cool. I'd be thrilled. Um, but yeah, I'm guessing there's other purposes, and Tesla would just keep it in one building. It could even just be for parts. Just
Yeah.
have, but there's another Tesla building, and I don't know how many there are in Texas that we don't know about, but there's
Sure.
one that's significantly west of Houston that has 1 million square feet,
Right.
and you know, we're guessing that's used for parts and stuff like that.
Yeah, so there's a whole bunch, but
Mhm.
so anyway, we started trying to guess based on your research because we hadn't done any of our own, and based on that analysis from the fourth quarter earnings deck. So we're thinking maybe the Shanghai factory will between Shanghai and Lathrop, because Elon said 2 to 3 times.
Mhm.
So we're thinking, okay, between those two, either because of increases in Lathrop or because there's more space and more capability in Shanghai, maybe we get to 100 to 120,000
Yeah.
gigawatts, gigawatt
Mhm.
hours.
Mhm.
The new one, though, is bigger, and unless they're going to use it for some other purpose, like building cars or something,
Yeah.
uh, then maybe that one will be even bigger. Maybe that one could be as high as double Lathrop or something. So anyway, that's kind of how
Yeah,
we,
I'd say there's a potential for that.
yeah.
It could possibly be double Lathrop.
So we could be
I
looking
think bare minimum it's going to match Lathrop,
there.
and
Yeah,
it's close to the Gulf of America.
right.
So it's essentially East Coast.
Yep.
It's on the good side of Panama Canal for the eastern side of
Yes.
the US. So effectively once you made it through that, you're good.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, so if that serves the East Coast. You can also ship to Europe if you want from there, but you don't have to.
Up the Mississippi River for the Midwest,
Mhm. Yep.
up to, all the way up to, I think the Mississippi,
The
then you can,
Great Lakes. Yeah.
yeah, you can take the Chicago River, the one that flows
Yep.
backwards. Yeah. And take that one up to, does that one go
Mhm.
all the way to the Great Lakes?
I'm not sure about the Great Lakes, how it connects to the Mississippi, but I think it does.
Yeah.
Um, I'm
Is that
not
like,
sure if you can river barge. I'm guessing you can.
yeah,
I do think there's a way you can go. There's a way bare minimum that you can go to all the Great Lakes from like Maine or wherever that is
right.
on the
Yes, we
East
know that.
Coast.
Yep, yep, yep.
Um, and then I do think that connects to the Mississippi.
Okay. Yeah. It'd be
I'll have
interesting.
to I'm going to research that right after.
Absolutely. We'll ask Grok or, that other company. I don't know.
We'll do Grok for this one.
Grok. Okay. So now that we've got your expertise on that, let's turn to the economy and the stock market. The Nasdaq is now in full correction. It's gone down more than 10% from its all-time high. The S&P has now moved to 5.5% off of all-time highs. So a little mini correction. What do you think? We going to go to a full correction on S&P and to the full bear on a Nasdaq?
How much is the S&P down?
Down 5.5.
Okay. Well, so a full bear would be 20%
No,
in
I'm saying
total.
20, full bear on the Nasdaq. So Nasdaq
Okay.
is down over 10.
Yeah.
So
I
we're
think that the Nasdaq will
okay.
go into that. It might not stay there that long,
Right, right.
but I do think it's seems likely it'll go there.
And the S&P from 5.5 down to 10, get a full correction.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, we're in 100% agreement on that one. And I've been
That
asking
doesn't mean it's going to happen,
happen.
folks.
No, no. I've been
Even though,
asking for it. I've
yeah,
been saying it should do that for
yeah.
months. So it's
I
just,
just think sentiment wise,
yeah.
people are really nervous about like the tariffs and Ukraine war and the economy, all that stuff. And also, there was just a huge spike in the market after the election. It wasn't just Tesla that went up, it was a lot of stocks. And margin borrowing increased then. I think margin borrowing got a little too high. People were just gambling a little too hard.
Mhm.
And typically that goes and flows. So it also peaked in November of 2021.
Yeah. 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 and the VIX was all the way down to like 12.
Yeah.
Now it's back up to 25. So there's
I
some,
think the market is it's sometimes like a natural system where like right now the tide is flowing out and the tide will come back.
right.
We know it will.
Yes.
And but right now it's flowing out. It seems like.
Right. Right. So we had mixed news over the last week, but I would say on balance, if it wasn't for the Fed beige book, pretty much on balance, everything else is kind of make looking like the economy is shaky, shaky, shaky. The layoffs are
Mm.
significant for February. The
And it wasn't just the Doge
yeah,
kicking people to the curb. It was private enterprise doing that as well.
yes. In
So
addition, yes,
Meta or Facebook had big layoffs. Bunch of media companies had layoffs. Uh, Number of layoffs.
right. So we've been expecting this. This is not a shock. I'm sorry, the tech layoffs. We've been expecting this for months and months. I thought it would happen sooner,
Mm.
but I think the
We're hiring though. We're
but you're
hiring.
hiring. Yeah, I know. We'll get to that
Talk
in a
about that soon.
so we expected tech layoffs because of artificial intelligence.
Mhm.
That's good because that'll improve productivity. Not good for the people that are laid off, but
Mhm.
hopefully they're smart enough to get another job. Maybe not at the same pay. We're hearing that some of the tech wizards are having to take lower paying jobs, but
Mhm.
that happens in life sometimes. I know that happened in the automotive industry, in the 70s and 80s as we became less of a manufacturing force when people lost their job as a tool and die guy. They couldn't
Mhm.
find another job as a tool and die guy at that wage. So these things happen when we're having major changes in economic forces. And right now, I would call this I think probably in my lifetime, this will be the biggest change economically in terms of the way things work in the economy we've ever seen.
Yeah, I think so. It may get pretty wild here in a few years. It we're just Matt and I are flabbergasted how good these tools are. Just this morning Matt was playing around with it and asking it to you make a bull bear and base case for uh FSD take rates in China,
Oh, okay.
and it researched all these different things, provided citations. Then we were able to kind of get a view of what the sentiment is like around FSD in China, and double checked its citations and things like that. But it was really impressive.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's uh, yeah. So I it's saving a lot of work, and it's doing things where we're no longer going to have to be a librarian and like save all the crucial data somewhere. So we don't need to save uh Tesla sales in China for each month. We don't need to save that in a spreadsheet. Now we can get a accurate answer from these research tools.
Yeah, yeah. I'm so old that I used to have to use the indexes I had to go
Yeah.
to. I can remember in 1993, I started writing and I was writing three books simultaneously, and the third one required a lot of research. And I was going on my lunch hour to the library and looking stuff
Mhm.
up in the indexes to find content for the book. So I've gone through that to the internet and now to this
Well, you also had microfiche in the library. You
and
remember that?
microfiche in the library. Absolutely right. And you had magazines that you would be able
Yeah.
to look at while you were there. You had a newspaper rack and a magazine rack. Yeah, I mean racks, these big old racks. Yeah.
Microfiche was where I first fell in love with the dark mode. Having a dark screen, because
Yes, yes.
essentially the ink would show up as light, like a tan or almost white, and then and this would be for like a newspaper scan.
Sure.
They
Yeah.
would scan a newspaper and put it on like this negative. I don't know how they do it. Yeah. But like they make it really small, so then you just throw it in this microfiche viewer. Yeah, that was fun to do that back in the day.
So, starting about 2 months ago, I started saying I'm smelling a recession.
Hmm.
I think that my statement was then that if DOGE is going to lay off, you know, 400,000 people, where you have $1 trillion cutback in
Hmm.
spending overall, that is going to impact small businesses that do business with the government, or even big businesses that do business with the government. I think just in licenses alone, have you seen those numbers? It's
It
like
might be it's over $1 billion.
it's over $1 billion
It's
just
got to be.
that they're going to cut. So
Hmm.
Microsoft is going to get smacked, and a lot of these different tech companies are going to lose a
Yeah.
lot of money from licenses that were doing nothing. And you know,
And if you don't know what we're talking about, there's, some departments where they have 13,000 employees, but they have 31,000 software licenses, and you only need one per employee. So they're just um, their systems aren't really good for, running an efficient department. There's some where the usage is way worse. I mean, and I think out of there's one piece of software where they had like 3,000 licenses and 13 people used it.
13.
Yeah, there's something like that.
Now, I have sometimes gone through my list of my expenses, and I've seen
Mhm.
a license or a subscription or
Yeah.
and I haven't used it for a year. I
Mhm.
just never turned it off. And I'll call these people and I say, I don't want you to just stop now. I want you to give me the last year back. You can look on here, you can see I haven't used it. So what if DOGE is smart enough to ask all these
Will they
companies?
do that, Randy?
I would.
I mean, have you done that in
Yeah.
the past? Does it work?
I would say about 75% of the time. They'll give me the money
Wow.
back for the time I wasn't using it.
Wow.
Yeah.
I want
Yeah.
you negotiating for me.
So if Doge is smart, they'll do this, and it
Hmm.
can save a lot more than just the licenses going forward. And besides, these companies are going to want to keep doing business with the government. So you go, well, you want to keep doing business? We got to make some kind of an arrangement on this. You knew,
Yeah. These
Microsoft,
companies knew that they
you
were not
knew.
using those licenses.
Absolutely new. Yeah. So I think there's some potential there. Are you listening, Elon? See, that's a good idea, Elon. So, okay.
Timestamp that one.
So the government is going to be laying off, and there's going to be all this. So the reduction just in the government part of business is going to
Hmm.
be huge. And for the last 2 years, we've had massive increases in government spending and government hiring. So we're
Right.
not just going to have this reduction, we're going to have a reduction in the comparison is going to be an increase. So when you look at that, to me, it says we're going to be very lucky to stay above the line when it comes to the overall economy,
Hmm.
at least for part of this coming year. Well, now I said that's, I don't know, 2 months ago. I've got it on many, many, many videos. You and I probably even talked about it. And now other people are starting to agree with me. A lot of headlines now about the coming recession. What do you think is going to happen?
Well, the Atlanta Fed is, I don't know what indicators they're looking at, but they're suddenly indicating like a 3% drop in GDP in the first quarter.
No, no, that's
Uh,
for the year. That was a year. That was over the whole year. Just to
over
be,
the year.
yeah,
Okay.
that's over the
That
year.
would be worse, I think.
Well,
That's
yeah,
that's worse than I'm thinking.
okay.
Um, so yeah, that's pretty negative. So they're seeing some leading indicators that are forcing that into the negative. Um, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. There's a lot of people that are in panic mode right now. So they likely stop spending. And you have the other thing going on with government spending where at least it's on pause.
Right.
it looks like Congress wants to just spend more money anyway, so they might take the savings and just plow it right back in. It's like, no, you can't stop spending there. You must spend what you spent last year. So
I think Ron Paul, not Ron, is it? I forget which
yeah,
Paul.
Ron Paul and I think a guy named like Tim Macias or something.
Yeah, they came up with this way of cutting a half a billion, I mean, 500 billion by reversing all of those, saying, no, we're going to cut that particular budget. And they could do it with just 51 votes. So that was that could be a really big deal. They've been talking about it for the last 2 days now, and apparently there's a lot of excitement about it.
And could they do it with a line item or
Yeah.
where they're changing the existing bill?
Yeah, I think there,
Or
I don't know if it goes down to line item, but I think it does. If the line item is specified in a bill, I think that's the line item could be specified as reducing it or eliminating it.
Mhm.
Or it could be an entire bill that they would say, complete, reduce this by 50% or
Yeah.
completely eliminate it. So yeah, so it's what do they call it? Not a reduction, a re, ah,
Randy, I'm just preparing my heart for the government not actually cutting spending.
I see. Okay.
Yeah,
You're one of those kinds.
and Elon was on Joe Rogan and he talked about information he has now where he kind of understands how the politicians are making money.
Yeah.
And he doesn't really want to say how that's happening because he worries for his safety. There's literally we're finding out about billions of dollars being stolen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and it's we're getting to fraud territory
Yeah.
where
Oh, yeah.
nonprofits are being created by either political appointees or families of political appointees, and then pro the nonprofit doesn't even have a leadership structure, doesn't have like a solid board. They probably say they do, but they're
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
they're all lackeys, and they put $7 billion in one of these, and it was I don't know if it's led by Stacey Adams or whatnot, but um, $7
Yeah.
billion,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
the
And they just pass money through it and they pass money as they pass it on to another charitable organization, another NGO. They grab 20% for administration and they send the 80% on to some other NGO. And then that one grabs 20% and sends it on to another. And they have these massive structures where this money is just being sent around from NGO to NGO. It's wild, wild, horrible.
you know.
Okay.
So I'm readying myself for that. I'm hopeful that DOGE is able to cut spending. Um, Also hopeful that DOGE is going to upgrade systems.
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
up and get that retirement system where it takes months, get that down to less than a day if possible. And um, yeah, I'm excited for that. And just like have accurate bookkeeping and bookkeeping like a business would be expected to keep. Like you can't keep books like the federal government is keeping. If you kept it for a business, um, you would fail an audit by the IRS.
Exactly.
Um,
100%.
like they would disallow all those expenses, and you'd be taxed on. They would literally disallow
Right.
expenses. You'd
Right.
be taxed on revenue instead of profit.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so like it would it would be crazy. Like, you can't do that.
No. No, believe me, I understand. So, all right. So you told me in the green room, and of course, this would not be investment advice, that you have not hit your target for buying more Tesla. So are you going to
Yeah.
reveal your target for buying more Tesla?
I'll just say we think it's still early to buy the dip. It's a pretty big dip now, but I've been maintaining that on X, and I
Is it
won't necessarily say when we change our mind on that or when we've done something or whatever, but
is it
I still
lower
think
than
it's early.
is it lower than 220?
I can't say, Randy.
Say, oh man, what kind of a reporter am I? I can't get it out of you. I need to trick you somehow. All right, tell me about your employee. Who's this person you're looking for?
Yeah, so we're looking for a data engineer, and I'm going to send a request to share my screen.
Okay, I will allow it.
Okay. And let's see. Now I can share it and decide what I share. And basically what a data engineer does is they grab the different data we have. So we have stuff in email, we have stuff on Word documents, PDFs, we have data that we create, we have data that we gather from financial markets. And we want to be able to, one, like consistently gather that data, but then also manipulate it in a way where we can use it in a business to help us make decisions
Yep.
and ultimately to serve our clients better and all that good stuff. So, what this person would do is help us automate the data collection and cleaning and implementation and also design those automations and work with me to come up with more things we need to be doing.
Is it
Uh,
is this a remote job or an in-office job?
Uh, I may be open to remote, but you need to be productive and like available and so be working closely with me. I'm certain this is a full-time job. If I wasn't as yeah, if I wasn't spending as much time in meeting with clients and doing investment research and management of the investments, yeah, I would do this. I think it's doable, but we need someone with experience with programming and with working with the AI large language models.
Right, right. So the first thing they're going to it reminds me of, 25 years ago when we would hire, do you know how to use Excel? If you don't know how to use Excel, don't apply. Now, if you don't know how to use an LLM, don't apply.
Yeah. There may be some programmers out there that are avoiding it, but it it's such a it improves productivity so much. It's basically a must now, and you might be able to spot the things that it's not quite doing right. Well, let it write the first draft for you, and then you can do the quick thing. And these LLMs can now see your code base. So if you have you know, different co different code in different spots in the structure, can look at that and see, okay, if I'm writing this piece of the code, here's how it should be, and here's all the different names that are being used in the code already, and
Yeah,
that kind of thing. So
yeah, no,
it's a huge time saver.
it's absolutely incredible. Um, all right, so people should, and that's paying $1 million a year or 100,000 an hour, or how does that work? Do I have all kinds of red things going on my face, or is that only on my screen? Are you seeing that too?
I think that's on your screen.
It's okay. I have
I
some weird
hope you're all right
coloration.
over
I have
there.
some weird coloration going on. I'm not sure.
Hope there's not a earthquake coming or something.
No kidding. All right.
It doesn't pay $1 million,
A million
but
bucks.
it would pay, what a data engineer would get, and it depends on the experience.
Sure.
I don't think we can hire one of the DOGE teenagers. Those people are absolute rock stars. They'll be making tons of money after this. There's
Right.
super talented. Nor do I think like Data Republican is ha shows all this stuff with X and looking at the trail of money um, from the so-called NGOs.
Sure.
Um, so I don't think I could hire her either. I can't afford those elite skills.
All right. But you'll take something just under that if the price is right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if you know somebody like that, You should send them over and at least have them take a shot at working for rebellionaires because
And where they can go is on X, our Rebellionaire brand account. They can send a DM with their cover letter and resume.
all right, very cool, very cool. Well, Bradford, it's time to say the magic words.
Okay, let's get right to the numbers.
Thanks so much for being on every week. It's such a pleasure to have you.
Yep. Bye for now.
Okay, then. All right. So here are the numbers. This New York Stock Exchange ended up down only 248. I'm sorry, the Dow, what was I talking about? The Dow Jones ended up down 427, not the low of the day, but close. NASDAQ also close to the low of the day, down 483. Those were in percentages. That was full percent for the Dow and 2.81%, 2.61 for the NASDAQ. S&P down 1.78, pretty strong number for the S&P. Tesla was down 5.61, almost exactly, very close to doubling the NASDAQ. And all of the Magnificent Seven were heavily down, and NVIDIA was down 5.74 as an example. So that was, again, because of the politics of the leadership there. They are obviously just, if he would just stop talking about Republican politics, their sales and their stock would do so much better. Okay, let's go ahead and let's look at Tesla in the after hours, down another 0.85%, so around $2.50 down in the after hours right now. All right, let's go, and that's at 261, by the way. Let's go ahead and look at the bonds. And what we've got here is the bonds are down. So after popping up today, which shocked the heck out of me, they're now going the right way. 1.9 down, 1.9 basis points, almost 2 basis points down in the pre-market. 4.263, still way too high. Hopefully this is directionally what's going to happen tomorrow. The 2-year also down 1.7 basis points, and the 2-month unchanged in the current situation. All right, then we go over to oil, down another 19 cents, 66.17. Brent is not trading yet. Natural gas down 0.7 at 4272. Gold down 15 bucks, back still above 2,900, 2,910. Silver actually falling a little bit now, 0.53 down, $33.16, and copper down 0.54. So all those three were almost exactly the same. That's very weird. Anyway, pre-markets, 4.78 is where the copper ends up. We've got Bitcoin. Whoa. So they announced that they might be starting the reserves tomorrow. You got people talking in Texas and one other state about setting up reserves. You got at least 1 or 2 countries talking about setting up reserves. And yet Bitcoin is down 4,603, 5% at 85,619. Now there are those who believes that that the Bitcoin is moving sort of like the stock market. So that might be why it has been hit so badly. All right, what about tomorrow morning? What is the futures looking like? Well, they're looking like they're going to rebound a bit. You got the Dow looking up 8.84 or 0.20. You got the S&P up 20 or 0.36. NASDAQ up 95 or 0.48 in terms of what tomorrow. Looks like here's a headline that the FAA had to halt flights to several Florida airports after the SpaceX failure of the space Starship. I'm not sure exactly what that's about. That's just a headline. If you're interested, you might want to take a look at that. Take a look at that. Okay, that's all I've got for tonight, except that you could like and subscribe, etc. And in just a couple of hours at 7:45, it will be Cern Basher with some really fun. Really, this is one of the better shows. He had not only fun stuff, but also some stuff that was very, very useful in terms of your ongoing interest in Elon Musk, Tesla, maybe his other ventures. Didn't talk much about politics on his when we have Cern on. So let me know in the comments below if we if there was anything you didn't agree with or did agree with that you'd like to talk to me about, it'd be great. So till tomorrow, till CERN's on, and then tomorrow, it's been great talking to you.